Hello again with an unannounced and unintentional video regarding the indictment of Michael Brown's shooter, Officer Darren Wilson now. I don't want this to be an evidence extravaganza video, but I just want people to understand where the black community is coming from with their grievances. First of all, nobody in their right minds actually endorses looting and violent rioting. That is obvious, and that is clearly a separate issue than the actual protesting. Some extremist people will always find ways to take advantage of certain scenarios to push down their own agenda. Secondly, just based on actual statistics, black males are staggeringly more likely to be fatally shot by police than whites. 21 times more likely, actually. That means 21 black people would have to be dead at the hands of a police officer for it to be likely that a white person will be shot. Between the ages of 15 and 19, the rate that blacks are killed is about 31 per million, while for white males in that range it's about 1 per million. So the issue of police injustice in the black community is obviously a large one. Despite whatever you are predisposed to believe, people who share the same skin color as I do get killed by police more often than whites, statistically. Thirdly, the case. First of all, what Ferguson's grand jury just did is unheard of in most cases. The phrase that you could indict a ham sandwich rings true statistically because according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, U.S. attorneys prosecuted 162,000 federal cases in 2010 and declined to return an indictment in 11 of them. Yes, 11. Do you know what that means? That means, without exaggeration, only 0.00006% of United States cases don't get indicted. Just in case that isn't clear, that means that 99.99993% of U.S. cases always reach an indictment. Of course, this is federal and state, so the statistics are not meticulously precise. However, a prosecutor's job is to actively seek an indictment, a relatively simple task that warrants if there is probable cause to look further into a case of potential homicide, not determining the guilt, but determining if it's worth investigating if he is guilty. Reaching an indictment is an extremely low barrier to overcome in most cases, and unless Mr. McCulloch, the prosecutor, had ulterior motives, this achievement would have taken only days, like most normal indictments. Instead, this process took several months, with breaks in between, behavior which is bizarre for any indictment process. Lastly, here are the facts that I will try not to bore you with, but these are set in stone and worthy of consideration. Number 1. Wilson washed away blood evidence that was on him during the shooting. Wilson admitted after the shooting that he washed the blood off of his body, physical evidence that would be important to prove or disprove Wilson's testimony. This is actually outside of police protocol. Number 2. The first officer failed to take notes when interviewing Wilson. This is horrifically outside of protocol because the whole reason they do this is to avoid the suspect taking weeks and weeks to come up with his own testimony. But that's exactly what happened. The officer explained that he wasn't equipped with a recorder and hadn't tried to take any written notes due to the chaotic nature of the situation. The officer told the grand jury that there were no discrepancies between Wilson's first account in person and his second account on the phone. Number 3. The investigators did not check Wilson's gun for fingerprint evidence. Considering the claim by Wilson is that there was a struggle for the gun in the patrol car, that would have been a significant piece of evidence. Number 4. Investigators for some reason failed to measure the likely distance between Brown and Wilson. A legal examiner who responded to the grand jury about the distance measurements at the scene stated that they appeared self-explanatory. Yes, she actually said that. She also said somebody shot somebody. There was no question as to any distances or anything of that nature at the time I was there. On a side note, the examiner failed to take any pictures. Extremely basic protocol, mind you. Because verbatim, the camera's batteries were dead. To keep this short, I will leave you with a few quick tidbits before I go. Number 5. Wilson's previous interview conflicts with info in his later testimony. Wilson stated originally that he had zero knowledge of stealing cigarillos from a convenience store. In a subsequent interview later, however, Wilson claimed that he knew Brown's hands were full of cigarillos, and that fact eventually led him to believe Brown to be a suspect in theft. How interesting! Wilson's testimony is also inconsistent, but the testimonies of the black onlookers in the neighborhood are thrown out, apparently because, hey, their testimonies are inconsistent. What do you know? Anyway, that's the facts. I didn't want to really put too much opinion, but I want you to come to a conclusion. Have some discussion in the comment section below. In my opinion, the process was done incorrectly, and despite what you may have a feeling about or what you feel it should be done, in my opinion, the process was flawed and should be done again. I don't want to display any opinion about if Darren Wilson's guilty. We don't know that in a court of law yet. As far as we know, in my opinion, the process was not done correctly. Very basic protocol was skipped out for no reason. So, anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about. I know this is getting a little too long, but I hope you guys stayed with me through. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/natnyle with a Y, NATNYLE, or facebook.com/natnyle, same endorsement. Until then,